Hey viewers, George here to talk about Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures again. We are on episode 15. What was this even about? So, it's, this episode's kind of on par with the last one, if I recall it correctly. Actually, it might be slightly, just a tad bit better than the last one. Not by much, though, but just slightly above it. Because there's like, I mean, it wasn't funny. The fucking series hasn't been that funny to begin with, but it seemed like there was more of a attempt at trying once again, kind of like the other episode. I think it was like 13 or whatever, where you can tell that they're actually, you know, trying to write something decent, or at least acceptable. There was no, like, toilet-based humor in this, like, no belching or gas-related. Okay, well, kind of. Like, there's this one moment where they... Let me just explain this episode's plot, because if I try to explain what I was just about to say, it would make no fucking sense. Which, the series makes absolutely no fucking sense. So, basically what happens this episode is Pac-Man's trying to get his driver's license. His P1, as they like to call it. I know. It's so fucking hilarious. You just throw the concept of Pac onto anything and it already becomes fantastic material. So his Pac license, as I'm assuming it's supposed to be called, his Pac permit, his Pac-1, I don't fucking know. So yeah, he's trying to get it, and as he's taking his test, there's like this earthquake that's happening. So he fails because he can't. Apparently, the driving instructor that they have, who is this basically hard-ass kind of driving instructor. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. That stereotypical instructor that they have in like these cartoons and shows, who's a ruthless motherfucker who will dock you from, you know, just about every fucking thing possible, even like the most minuscule things that like anyone with half a brain cell obviously would just kind of like not bother saying anything about it, because it's kind of a very like small thing, you know. He'll dock you for it. He's that kind of person, extremely strict and all that shit. So, of course, he fails, and you know, he's all moping about. And then you have Betrayus and what he's trying to do, and this makes out this plan. I mean, it makes sense, but the way things happen make less sense. So, he's trying to drill from the Netherworld up to Pac-Land. Or Pac-Tropolis, apparently that's what it's called. Fuck it, I'm calling it Pac-Land, though. That game was fun. So, he's trying to drill into Pac-Land, and to basically, what would happen is, if the hole becomes big enough, or if he like drills right through, Pac-Land will get sucked into the Netherworld. I don't know how that works, because basically, if that happened, the world would be destroyed, because it gets sucked into itself, which becomes like an infinite paradox of some sorts, if I'm not mistaken. It'd be like an infinite loop, because you just have to constantly keep sucking in. Or maybe it would just become like a black hole of itself. So yeah, Betrayus is trying to destroy the world, despite the fact he wants to rule Pac-Land. It's well established in this episode that's his plan. And instead he's trying to destroy it. Makes no sense. So, anyways, that happens. And apparently, as he's drilling through the ground, there is a hole that is above ground that is slowly expanding. Which makes no fucking sense, because he hasn't actually gotten through it? Or at least, when the hole starts, he hasn't? Like, I don't even know how the fucking drill works, because apparently, by the end of the episode, Pac-Man can actually fly his vehicle that he's driving in this episode, which apparently Pac-Man has like 5 of them. I don't know where the fuck he got them, Once again, none of it has been established that he got these vehicles or that they were designed for him. They just fucking come out of nowhere when it becomes convenient for the writers. I'm getting pissed off with this episode. It's slowly getting worse now. But, so, like, by the end of the episode, like, he can fly his vehicle out the hole, but yet the drill never actually comes out the hole. So, it's like, how does this work? Like, the drill hasn't poked through the earth yet, but the hole apparently is connected. So wouldn't that mean Pac-Man is already sucked into it? Wouldn't that mean it's doomed? Apparently not, because all they had to do was plug the hole with the infinity cork, or whatever the fucking thing's called. It's an expanding cork that, like, can be as big as you want. And apparently just plugging the hole stops the whole thing and destroys it, and has, like, the ground come down on the drill and the netherworld. I don't know. It makes no fucking sense. Obviously, that's not how that works, because if that's how that worked, the whole Pac-Land above it would collapse on top from that, because apparently there's not enough support. But to begin with, it should have just started collapsing, because there was no support to begin with, if it was already crumbling just by it being plugged up. That's how this episode worked. It made no fucking sense. And here's the even worse part. We haven't gotten to that fucking joke I was trying to get to. That wasn't even a joke, but it was supposed to be funny. But it was like the one bodily function thing. Pac-Man goes into the netherworld, because he has to grab the infinity cork, or that was stolen by a dragon. He gets it back, though. But in order for him to get it back, he had to fly into the mouth of, like, a ghost beast thing. I don't fucking know what the hell it's called. I think it was like one of the Cyclops. He flies into it. I don't know how the hell that works. The thing's not that big. It's, you know, it's not big. But he flies into it somehow. He grabs it, and he comes out the other end. It's a show for kids. You go in one end, you come out, and he's not even stained with a piece of shit at all. But the entire show is a piece of shit. I think it's a metaphor. The writers knew. The animators knew. It's a metaphor for the show. Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventurers is a piece of shit that was constructed by them themselves. It's a neatly fitted allegory for the show. So, what else? The drive instructor. Basically what ends up happening is, Pac-Man goes to fly his thing. I don't know what the fuck it's called. It's a hovering vehicle, but all the fucking vehicles in the show hover, so I don't know why that's any special. But he's like, okay, I can get there faster on this. You guys bring the pineapple tank, because apparently they need the pineapple tank. Which, by the end, yes, they use it, but it's just to kind of make a vehicle plug a smaller hole that was off to the side. It makes no fucking sense. This whole show made no fucking sense. So, where the fuck was I going with this? So he's flying the vehicle, and he gets stopped by the driving instructor. I don't even know how the hell that works, but apparently he's a licensed officer to hand out tickets and stuff. I don't know. It made no goddamn sense. Anyways, so he's like, you only have your permit. You're not allowed to, you only have your pack permit. You're not allowed to drive vehicles in a no pack flying pack zone, piggly pack. You need someone with a pack permit, the pack license to be with you. The point being is that the instructor ends up riding with him as he's trying to get this cork back, going through the netherworld and shit. And the entire time, he's just like, you're flying in a no-fly zone. You've ran out of fuel. You've disobeyed some laws. You're flying with this. And the entire time you're watching it... Oh, there's even better comments. Hold on, before I get to this. Before I get to that. Like, some of the other things he's like, dragons, ghosts, are you silly? Those don't exist. And I'm just thinking, have you been under a fucking rock? This is episode 15! it's been well established that ghosts and the dragons in the netherworld are well existing and easy to get to. Like, and this guy kind of just like, those don't exist. It's like, no longer, like, obviously the point of the character was, like, his humor comes from his ignorance. But, like, there is a point where the continuity that has been developed within the show can't kind of work against everything else. You can't have a character that denies the continuity that has been well established, that you are establishing in the show, because it doesn't work. It's something that is well known to everyone. It's not like, you know, if there's a character who denies the existence of a superhero and needs to actually physically see the superhero, or for him to actually be like, oh, okay, he's an actual thing. Kind of like Batman, like early Batman kind of stuff, where they're like, Batman doesn't exist, he's just a myth. And then they see him, it's like, fuck, he's real, and he can beat the shit out of us. It's not the same thing. Because it's been well established, like, ghosts and shit have been around for a long time within the Pac universe that this show is in. So the fact that someone is denying something that everyone else in the show is readily accepting kind of makes it hard to, you know, watch the show and kind of be invested in it in any sense when even the show works against itself. It's basic writing 101. How do you fuck that up? Never have your characters fight against well-established concepts within the universe. It's not like he's even a skeptic or anything. He's just a jackass who is a fucking jackass just because the writers wanted him to be one. And they thought it would be funny. It's funny to a... Like, obviously it's not funny in the show. The show can't do anything fucking right. But that kind of character does obviously work. Where he's, you know, being a prude about everything. And about, you know, what the character embodies and shit like that. But never do the characters kind of, like, fight against the things that are established in the universe. They can utilize those as complaints towards the individual. Like, the fact that this guy is, like, oblivious, almost, to the fact that Pac-Man fucking saves them on a daily basis by the looks of it, is just kind of baffling, because that's another well-established thing, is everyone in that universe knows who Pac-Man is and why he's significant to their place of living. Except for this guy. Except for this one fucking driving instructor who fucking hates everyone just because he can. That should tell you how bad the writing for this show is that they constantly fight against themselves in the writing and trying to basically hammer over you with the head by being like, this is what the character is about, this is what the character is meaning, this is the character's one fucking trait. Do you get it? Well, yeah, it's not funny anymore, though. It never was to begin with, because, okay, if I'm gonna be honest with myself, the closest it got to being funny, the bare minimum where it could have been funny, and to some people probably was, like, the only funny thing that this character's one trait, one defining quality to him, is when he, before he goes to test Pac-Man in the opening, he finishes up with a student, and he just, you know, beriddles the crap out of this kid, this child, student he was, you know, studenting, and is like, you missed these signals, you did this wrong, you did that wrong, and then as he gets out, he's like, you're going to be taking the bus for the rest of your life, you don't get your learning firmaments, I'm taking that away from you, oh, and tell your mother I'm going to be late tonight. And I'm like, oh, that's hilarious because it's his daughter. That's supposed to be funny. And of course they have to make that even more obvious by having one of the characters being like, oh man, he did that to his daughter. It's like, well, no fucking shit. Why else would he be like, tell your mother I'm late? Is the show going to start in, like, saying, oh, he has incestuous things, it's his relative or something? I think we kind of get the point. You don't have to reiterate it. Like, that's kind of defeats the humor of it almost, is when you kind of have to reinforce it for no reason. I think the show does that a lot too. And I don't think I've ever commented on how the show has to reinforce jokes that it sets up, which the jokes themselves, once again, they're not like, particularly funny. I mean, there is definitely a joke there. I can definitely tell that it was meant to be a joke. And the one I just gave an example as was probably the closest it got to being a funny one. But still wasn't funny. But they had to reinforce a bunch of them. Like, at the end of this episode, the dirt that collapses falls on top of Petraeus, and he gets buried under dirt. And at the end, you know, he's under the dirt, he's screaming for help, and his two lackeys are there. But, just in case you didn't know he was under the ground, they have voice waves coming out of the freaking dirt pile to be like, he's here, guys! Did you forget what happened, like, not even a minute ago? Like, 10 seconds ago? He's right here! So you know where the voice is coming from. Like, fucking hell! No shit! It's shows like this, and certainly there's a shit ton of other ones that obviously you guys are well aware of, that just kind of treats their audiences like dumbasses. Like, they think they can't comprehend a good joke, or like they can't comprehend something without being visually reinforced or vocally reinforced about why that joke is funny, or about what's happening. Like, they think everyone has these short attention spans, which, to a degree, yes, people, especially nowadays, do have shorter attention spans than they did, you know, 10 years ago, 5 years ago. Point being, though, they're not that fucking stupid. Like, you know, they can at least keep their attention for the length of the show, for like the 25 minutes it's on, especially if they're watching it. They're going to keep an interest to it. You don't have to remind us about that kind of shit. I will say this. Here's the one thing that Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures is doing right. And it's doing it without even realizing it. And it's making me realize how much more I appreciate good comedic things. Like, watching episodes of this, and then, you know, going and watching something like Monty Python, or SpongeBob, or like anything fucking good that is funny, really kind of like reminds you of why those work so well and why this does not work so well. Like, you can really see the contrasting difference. And it's also a fucking saving grace as well to know that not everything kind of follows this. Especially nowadays, I feel so sorry for kids today, where there are, like, out of maybe 10 shows, 10 cartoon shows that are put out, one of them is watchable and is actually good. Like, for every, you know, Adventure Time, or for every Gravity Falls, or SpongeBob technically is still going on, there is like 10 Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures out there. It's very fucking unfortunate that that's kind of what is starting to dominate the television programming, next to the numerous amounts of reality shows that are out there, and god-awful fucking cartoons. That's kind of what is becoming the norm. On the plus side, when we do watch a good show, it's a fucking fantastic thing to watch. You know, going from Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures to watching This Week Tonight with John Oliver, the most glorious experience ever. You just enjoy the shit out of the good things. And then loathe the fact that you have to come back and talk about fucking episode 15 of Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures because you've started doing it and you're fucking committed to it. Oh god. The things I do. Do I have anything else to comment on this? The driving structure is like animation. Like, not so much the animation, but just his facial expressions and the way he like stiffly moved was so fucking weird. He'd be like, go shit. It's like, I can understand you're freaking out, sir, but try act natural, like you are an actual individual freaking out, not the animators got really fucking lazy. Because that's what it basically is like, for so much of the time, especially when it gets closer to the end and he's freaking out more and more, like, he becomes so much like a fucking statue at times. Like a moving statue, where, like, he takes a position, holds it there for, like, 5-10 seconds, and then takes another position, and it's just like, that's not realistic, and nor is it really that funny. Like, this is another comedic thing. Like, facial expressions, especially the more bizarre they get, definitely has its merits to being funny. There's no doubt about that. You know, so many shows do it. The thing is, though, shows that do it are mostly live action. A lot of comedic shows that do, like, the whole facial expressions and, like, the bizarre way our body can, like, you know, contort itself without really, you know, injuring ourselves. It's done live action because, you know, taking something realistic and making it more cartoony is funny. That's just a normal thing. Trying to find ways to make real life more cartoonish is absolutely hilarious. When a cartoon tries to be a cartoon and extremely cartoony, it just comes off as a cartoon. Like, it's not special in any way. Like, you could do that to begin with. Now, of course, there are exceptions. I mean, SpongeBob does a lot of bizarre things, but it's because, like, the way they do it, it's because it's aimed as a kid's show, a family-friendly show, and they do bizarre things that kind of pushes the boundaries of what you would expect from a family-orientated show. It works for it. Same with Adventure Time. It does bizarre things like that, and regular show certainly does that. It shows nothing but being bizarre in normal situations. But Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures just does it wrong. It takes everything that, yes, is funny, but it's funny in different contexts, in different reasons, in different continuities, in different shows, in different stylings. Here it doesn't work. And it especially doesn't work with god-awful writing, god-awful animation, and lazy animation. And before I end this video, I know it's gone on very long. I don't know how long, but I know it's gone on very long. Before I end this, I am getting really fucking sick of this show trying to force the Pac-Man symbol in fucking everything. There are so many times where you just see the classic Pac-Man symbol, like, on everything. Like, okay, I can understand a couple places where, sure, it's tongue-in-cheek to have it there. I understand that much. But when you have it like, hey, we have it on our police officer license, we have it as designs for our buttons, we have it designs for this, we have it designs for this and that, and it's just kind of like, guys, It's no longer being a very tongue-in-cheek cameo-esque thing. It's becoming fucking stupid. And it's becoming overdone and overused and annoying. And when you see it when you see it like plastered all over the place, it just kind of takes you out of it. Because it doesn't really fit. Because we don't associate... Because especially us as people, we associate that symbol with Pac-Man, of course. It's what Pac-Man is. So when you have it plastered on everything, we're taking it out of, the show itself. And we're just kind of viewing it as, oh, they've put that there. I see Pac-Man symbol. It just makes me want to play fucking Pac-Man. Like, off and on. And, go and play that. I've rambled on quite a while about episode 15. I'm much longer than I thought I was going to ramble on about it, that's for sure. So yeah, that's episode 15. I was informed that apparently the show gets a hell of a lot worse, which I'm so not looking forward to. But this is like, I think the third episode where it just kind of hits this baseline where you think it's hit rock bottom, like that's kind of where, but it's kind of like in the middle of like just, it's not funny, but it's not like the most god-awful piece of shit it was before. It just kind of like exists. Like it's there. Like I don't know how else to explain it. It's a baseline, and it's not going anywhere. So, if from what I've heard is true, and this gets a hell of a lot worse, these episodes are gonna get a hell of a lot longer. Oh, okay. So yeah, until next time, keep on gaming.